Welcome to your favorite news network, the Dusty News Network. You know where Negro news comes first, and I'm so excited to be your host today.
Greetings to the Conscious Collective. Thank you for joining me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you being in here. It always feels good to have someone else come in and help me get this thing started while the rest of the people are waking up. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things today, as usual. I want to first start off with reviewing a video from a content creator called O'Shea Dude Jackson, if I'm not mistaken. And he's going to be talking about, he has a couple of things he talks about doing his show. But I want to talk about the first one of his first topics. And so we're going to review it and we're going to have a discussion about that. And it's going to lead us into some other things. You know, we always go into different areas as we're talking and examining our conscious development. So let him play and then we'll pick it up from there.
Breaking news. Dubai is a very beautiful place, guys. I've been there twice. It is hot as hell. And literally, y'all know I'm dark skinned. I was walking around and I was so dark, it felt like coffee was dripping off my body onto the ground.
You're saying what?
But I noticed something else about Dubai. It was a lot of women that I couldn't afford. That ain't nothing new. But I think I know why that could be the case. A few days ago, a popular publication, Black Sports Online, published a story about an IG model that was offered a nice sum of cash to do something strange with her ass.
So, Divine Rising, we're going to get into it. We're starting off hot. All right. Welcome. Thank you for being part of this conversation. I'm glad you guys are in here. We're going to start off hot about the pooping that's going on in Dubai. And like they say, all money ain't good money. And I want to really challenge the Conscious Collective to really think about this. In the pursuit of money, everybody wants money, right? And we talked about it yesterday, how that's the wrong narrative, right? For the divine feminine to even try to be in. That framework is is totally a wrong narrative for the feminine energy to be involved with, just even discussing money, right? I know you think it's strange, right? But stick with me and try to understand where that leads you to. Welcome. Thank you for joining us in this conversation. When you are making money in the dynamics of male and female interrelationships, when you making money a point of conversation, it puts the female energy at a disadvantage, right? When you start discussing your value in the sense of money, right? Then you're asking the other party to agree with your value in that sense of money. And that's why it's a bad narrative to get into from the start. Because then that other party has to agree with your value of it. And most feminine energy is well beyond the scope of value of money. So we're going to get into how we get around this, how we get out of this conversation, and how we come back to the true understanding of feminine divine energy and how it's invaluable. All right. So first, I want to say that a lot of topics I'm going to be talking about over the next few weeks may come off as negative towards the divine feminine. And that is not my intention. And I'm glad that a lot of people understood what I was talking about yesterday, and they came into left comments of support, because I want to walk a line here. I have love and admiration for the divine feminine energy, right? But a lot of vessels, which are women, are not operating in that energy. And I don't want to be beating up and piling on and negative around it. So I'm always ask the collective, to kind of guide me in this conversation, because I love and respect the divine feminine. I believe they are my God. All right. They are the gods to me. That is my highest deity, is feminine energy. And I explain to you often why I believe that. I don't believe masculine energy is the highest form. I believe in divine feminine being the highest form of divinity. Okay. And the world is starting to understand that a little bit more and more, that we've been lied to in a lot of ways about the correct order of things. And that's why we're in this place that we are. So we're gonna try to rewrite that narrative and put it in the right space. But that doesn't mean just because you are a vessel of divine energy that you can hold it. And when you allow things to happen to you for the pursuit of some monetary value, you lessen the amount of divine energy that can be held in you. Does that make sense? When you're broken and you're traumatized, you lessen the amount of divine energy you can bring forth in the world. And what is this divine energy that we're waiting on? We're waiting on Sophia wisdom. Sophia is the Greek word for wisdom. We're waiting on Sophia consciousness. We're waiting on the wisdom that divine energy brings into our world to help us in our life path. So we're going to talk about what the pursuit of money, greetings. We're going to talk about what the pursuit of money can lead to. When you start talking about money, you automatically connect everything has a price to it. And the divine feminine has no price. It's the pearl of great value. There's nothing that you can accumulate it to when it's in its true essence, right? That's like trying to give the universe a price. But when you come down to the realm of lower vibration and say, I need money, instead of operating in your divine energy, you subject yourself to what money corrupts. So here's a video that we're checking out of what they're doing to women in Dubai for the pursuit of money.
And as you know, this is an ongoing thing.
Man, tell me this stuff not true, bro. I know these folks ain't going to Dubai, getting all that money, doing what I think they doing, bro. Tell me y'all making this up.
So a lot of these models, white, black, or otherwise, are being recruited by these particular talent agencies. And you go to Dubai, all expenses paid. You out here living the life on the yachts with a millionaire. Maybe it's an Emirati, maybe it's not. But
I start looking into this agency.
So you really have to understand the nature of men. I had a conversation with last night about the fear that men have of women. And it's the fear of the unknown, the fear of lack of control. Men operate in their lower chakras, and it's about control, and it's about measuring things, and it's about being in charge of things. Women strip that from men. When women take that power away from men. And that's the worst thing that a man can kind of experience. But it also goes deeper, right? And we know this as a culture, that sometimes the hate can run deep. The hate can run deep. And when you have men who disrespect women, right, that disrespect can run very deep until you start doing not only paying or charging or putting a monetary value on sex, I guess we can say that, but also the disrespect that they feel they need to heap, and maybe heap is the wrong word, on women. And then for women to fall into that box is really discouraging to me. That they actually operate in this energy of the pursuit of money to be disrespected, and then assume that you can be the divine feminine when you're allowing all kinds of manner of things. Just think about it like this. If you had a very sacred symbol, it was very dear to you and meant a lot to you. All right. So one of the most valuable symbols that you have. And someone came in there and smeared feces all over that symbol, right? Smeared waste on that symbol, right? That would be the most violating thing that could happen to that sacred symbol for you. But for that sacred symbol to allow it to encourage it because they think they're getting some gain off of it, right, is also discouraging to me.
Go through their follower list and who their clients are, and I quickly come to realize that they have some very, very famous models. One of the girls, I remember, she had a ton of plastic surgery. This is where everything completely changed for me. I decided to put her name into Twitter and things started to pop up. On this girl's Twitter feed were all these pictures of her in Dubai on luxury yachts, in the most beautiful apartments you can imagine, in shopping malls, holding very expensive designer handbags. As I kept scrolling, I stumbled upon a very shocking video. It was a video of her laying on a bed and a man was doing a certain something on top of her.
Please, please stop letting money be a topic of conversation. You have so much more to offer in value. But when you start to use money as a means of negotiation or negotiating your value, you actually are putting yourself at a disadvantage. Because if you do this, something strange for a little piece of change, what won't you do for other things? How many boundaries would you let be crossed in this pursuit of money? Now, don't misunderstand me, all right? There's other ways to go about the conversation of your protection and your provision, but it should never cross into the areas of how much it is, because there's not a price to it. There's no way to value that. But then when you start talking about money, right, you're coming into the lower energy of this reality, and you're going to lose and be abused from that standpoint.
So she went and started typing on Twitter. And when she went and she found out that the girl was out there getting literally, it was down bad. And that's what I've always heard about this situation. But you know what? That ain't the only thing. She says, I flew to Dubai after an Instagram model agency set me up with a wealthy Emirati.
Now, Instagram model is just code for online prostitution. That's just code for online prostitution. That was bad enough, right? Where you have women who, I don't know, kind of fix it in their head that being paid for their services is not the same as being on the street and being paid for a service, right? And people say, well, marriage would be a type of prostitution. There's normally no discussion of money in marriage, right? In a sense of buying for services. So it's kind of a little different, right? And then there's also a contract involved where you get reparations or recoup. If in event of a divorce, you can get some money out of it normally. You can't get anything out of being on the street or being an IG model. Okay? It's just another way the system is corrupting the divine feminine energy.
Businessman. He offered me $20,000 up front just to be his date for a 4-day yacht party. Everything seemed elite. 5-star hotels, luxury shopping sprees, private drivers. I thought I had struck gold just by looking pretty. On the final night, he took me to a private penthouse overlooking the marina. He slid an additional $50,000 across the glass table. He looked at
another $50,000. We're talking about money. Another $50,000. All right, everyone knows wants this money and this and that money and this thing. this leads to a very slippery slope for some people. I'm not saying this is everybody, but when you start discussing money, you're bringing yourself into a very slippery slope area.
Me completely calm and said, the yacht party was just an interview. This $50,000 is for the real request. I want you to let me use you as a toilet.
You know that young lady Cooking with Kaya? Cooking, you remember the show Cooking with Kaya? And it's so discouraging that women think the only value they have, that they let society convince them the only value they have is in their body and in their sex appeal. And then when society said, and then women buy into this, and then when society said that's no longer valuable, you get some type of women trying to hang on to it, and they look kind of ridiculous at a certain age trying to hang on to what they used to be, because that's what they put all their value in, and they didn't grow naturally into that crown, right? Into that divine queen. They didn't move naturally into that, right? They still trying to operate in the princess mode. Everybody wants to be a princess. Nobody, don't understand what it takes to be a queen, right? So they operate in that princess mode and trying to hang on to that mode, as opposed to, readily accepting the regal queen role, because you have done the work and you have developed yourself. So now you have this value that's slipping away from you, and you don't know what to do about it, because you haven't accepted the growth of yourself in that role. So everybody wants this role where, oh, I'm attractive, I'm this and I'm that. And that's what Cookie with Kaya was doing her appeal, her sexual appeal, to applying it to food or whatever they were doing. I've never seen any of her videos. I only seen clips of people talking about it. And the thing is that after she lost that, after that started to slip away from her, but the money was so good. The money was so good that she actually went over to Dubai and got another $50,000 to $100,000 to allow people to disrespect her, to cross her boundary. If crapping on you is not crossing the boundary, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you. It's worse enough you let any energy into your sacredness, right? I feel bad for that. But if actually crapping on you is not crossing a boundary, it's just, I don't know what to tell you. How do you recover from that? Of all the chakra work I do with people, that's gonna be some hard work to get past, some hard trauma to get past.
I froze, thinking it was a joke or some weird translation error. It wasn't! He explained that extreme wealth bores him. Normal intimacy doesn't do it anymore. He pays top-tier girls thousands just to degrade them and poop on them, or have them do it to him. Huh? He told me, no one will never know. He signed the NDA, take the $50,000 and fly back to your country tomorrow. Rich! I'm sitting in...
Is $50,000 really rich? Is $50,000 really rich? In our economy, you can blow $50,000 in a matter of 6 months, depending on where you're living at, depending on your lifestyle. We have multi-millionaire celebrities going broke. They riding Rick Ross because he riding commercial. They dragging him, right? You have many celebrities that go broke. Hammer blew millions of dollars in a matter of years. So I don't know if $50,000 really rich. I don't think that's really rich.
This luxury hotel, staring at a bag containing $70,000 total cash. My mind is completely spinning. It's life-changing money for a few minutes of absolute disgust. I don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do, huh? That's crazy work. That's crazy work. You don't know what to do about this. See, this is the problem you get in with money. All right? This is the negative, I don't like to say evil, but this is the negative mindset you get in with money. You have people who will unalive people for a little piece of change, right? Take a whole life for some change. Now you got people who are offering to do the most vile and disgusting thing to you for a little piece of money. life changing. If you don't have a sustainable income, how is it life changing? You're going to blow through that money, but you're going to still have that literal stain on your soul, a stain on your soul from what you allow to happen to you willingly. So you blow past the money, you still got that trauma in you about it, and you don't know what to do. This is crazy work.
This is crazy.
Damn right.
She got $20,000. Dude said, I will give you 50. And you would have had 70. And you was like, you didn't know what to do. Excuse my language. Oh, I know exactly what you did. Girl, let me tell you something. You definitely took that money.
Definitely took the money. If you don't know what to do, you definitely took the money. Because the level of beatdown that would have came for even that proposition is disrespectful. That proposition is disrespectful. I was listening to this guy talking about guys in prison tossing salad. Does anyone know what tossing salad is? People talk about going to hell. All right, when they talking about tossing salad, it wasn't anything about the pleasure of it. It was the disrespect of the person. He said that when someone's doing that, they can't imagine nothing else but what they're doing. And it was about the disrespect of it. Okay. You got to understand the mind of some men, right? And men again come up with this stuff. Men come up with this stuff, right? The mind of some men, the depravity of some men, right? And when you subject yourself to that, when you start talking about money, when you start addressing how much money you need, right? You're going to necessarily put yourself in a conversation. Well, what would you do for it? Well, I would give it to you, but what would you do for it? And then it enters these areas where the real disrespect is shown towards your sex, towards your feminine energy, towards you being the divine feminine. The real disrespect starts to come out.
For $1,000, you could have washed yourself off. Now, here's the key, guys. If you take $69,000 on the airport, you know, a lot of women will do this. Basically, they just take the money from you because you can't carry more than like $20,000. So now I don't know what you got to do to kind of send that money to yourself, because you got to be able to have that money. So I don't know what goes on if you literally have like,
I think they really wire it. I don't think they would give it to you in cash, because that's insane, because you can't carry it through the airport. So I will hope that at least you're smart enough to have it wired to you, right? Or put on, you can't even put it on Cashapp. It's too much. So they would have to kind of wire it to you in the future. But if you get to the airport's going to confiscate it. You can't transport money like that.
like $70,000 in cash. Like, how in the hell do you get that back in the States? Because you got to be able to claim that money is yours. So I don't know how they do it, but still, imagine getting crapped on and then you have the money and then you can't even take it back. But again, she probably did it and probably went back and did it again. These girls are getting their cheeks all the way clapped out there. Not even clapped. These dudes don't even want to clap you. That's easy. They want to do something else because they nasty. Next time.
That is crazy work. Crazy work, and it's for the love of money. And I know a lot of people say, well, I wouldn't do that for the love of money. But what are you doing? What are you doing for the love of money when that's not even necessary to achieve all the things that you want to achieve? So that's how we starting the conversation off. We had a good conversation yesterday. Go back and check that video out. I appreciate you guys allowing me to share my perspective. Thank you for being here. I am truly grateful and honored that you are. So you know what we're going to do now. Did I even upload it? I need to upload it. We are going to do some chakra work, but I don't have it uploaded. So let me upload it really quickly. Quick way to clear. right, let's go run through this really quickly. Your chakra. So let's begin with the root chakra. I want you to imagine a red light at the base of your spine and repeat, I am. Now moving up just below the navel, imagine a orange light there and say, I feel. Just above the navel is the solar plex chakra, and that is a yellow light, and say, I do. Next, we're moving to the heart chakra. Imagine a green light there and say, I love. Moving up to the throat chakra, imagine a blue light there and say, I speak. Next, we're going to go to the third eye chakra in the center of the forehead. And imagine an indigo light or a dark black light and say, I see. Moving to the top of the head is the crown chakra. And imagine a white light there and say, I know. This is a quick way to clear your chakra, and I hope it resonates with you. All right, we are back. Thank you guys for allowing me to share that with you. We are going to do some chakra work here. I keep insisting that this is the only way that we can go about clearing ourselves of trauma and negative energy that we are holding. Let's work on our solar plex chakra, and I want to do our crown chakra. So I'm going to ask if you take a moment to center yourself, take some deep breaths in as we repeat these affirmations around our solar plex chakra. I love and accept myself. I stand up for myself. I am strong and courageous. I am worthy of love, kindness, and respect. I choose the best for myself. I express myself in a powerful way. I am proud of my achievements. I honor myself. I choose healthy relationships. I am authentic. I direct my own life. I appreciate my strengths. I feel my own power. I am free to choose in any situation. I seek opportunities for personal and spiritual growth. I am at peace with myself. It is my desire that we say these affirmations and they loosen up the trauma and the negative energy that you're holding from experiences, so you can allow divine feminine energy to flow in you and you can reclaim your rightful position. So repeat after me as we talk about our crown chakras and say these affirmations. You can listen or just repeat. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. I am part of the divine. This is something that I guess never occurred to people, that why is there only a male part of the divine? Where is the female energy in the divine? It's a very simple question. We have been taught that the male energy is the only thing that exists in divine, in spirit. Where is the feminine counterpart to that, to make it whole? I honor the divine within me. I seek to understand and to learn from my life experiences. I cherish my spirit. I seek experiences that nourish my spirit. I listen to the wisdom of the universe. Can you hear the wisdom of the universe? I trust my intuition. I am open to letting go of my attachments. I live in the present moment. I am grateful for all the goodness in my life. I love and accept myself. I know that all is well in my world. I connect with the wisdom of the universe. I am open to divine wisdom. My life moves with grace. I am at peace. Can everyone do me a favor and greet each other? I understand or got a download that the divine feminine is a collective of strong women. It is not a single leadership as men are. We have one leader, alpha male. The divine feminine energy is held within a number of women. I always said, like, who calls these boycotts? Where do they come from? Right? And I received a download that it comes from the collection of women. It was so funny that the Jamal Bryant, the pastor who assumed that he was in charge, and Target reached out to him and he came on and said he was calling out the boycott. And so many of the divine women in that space said, you don't call off anything. We called it and we keeping it on. And so I love that you can see peaks of that divine feminine energy start to take hold in our reality. And there's nothing that we could just point at one person and say that she is the queen. She. It is a collective of divine women who are giving us guidance and will bring Sophia wisdom back into our reality. So I hope you guys reach out and say divine rising to each other and greet each other and connect with each other and understand that you are God collectively, right? You are the goddess collectively. That's the beautiful part of where we're going in our fifth dimension reality. One other thing I want to talk about before we move on. All right, I'm going to try to bring it up. Let's talk about, I really want to look at this, the heart chakra. I want to talk about the heart chakra, right? The heart chakra is that the bridge between our lower dimensional needs and desires into our higher connection with divine source. If that heart chakra is traumatized and blocked, you're going to have a hard time reaching that point of connection to divine source. So it's always important that you do work on your heart chakra. So I just want to kind of reiterate some things about the heart chakra so you'll have an understanding that that heart chakra probably needs some work, right? The heart chakra is the bridge of unconditional love. It moves you out of the ego and the personal willpower, because you got to understand the sacral, the solar plexus is where we have our willpower. The heart chakra introduces the foundation of feminine principle of relational awareness, emotional depth, and integration. It brings everything into us. From that heart chakra, you get the receptivity and the openness. You also get the compassion and empathy, the acceptance and forgiveness, and the harmonizing and unity. So we're going to touch on that again, but I wanted to bring that into the collective so we have an understanding about the heart chakra, right? And so in that sense, I do chakra clearing and balancing as a chakra coaching or chakra coach to aid you in releasing different energies and different chakras. And so if you need that, you can have a free consultation call with me. Just reach out and we can schedule something and discuss the work that you need to do to bring you back to your highest version of yourself. So you're not dependent on money and you're not dependent on other outside sources that you already have within you. So use that opportunity to reach out. Next thing I want to talk about, hey, check this out. All right. So I didn't get a chance to talk about this yesterday, but this was the sacred space that I set up at the fair that I was at this weekend, the Altars Street Bazaar. It was brutally hot out there, and it didn't have the kind of audience I wanted, but I was offering services of card reading, sound bowl, and egg cleansing and all those additional spiritual services out there. So I was grateful to offer that, and I just wanted to share this little clip of video with this. Yeah, I did go live a couple of times. It was crazy. I was trying to get comfortable with streaming and how people just go live all the time, because I normally just sit live behind the desk, but when you out there in the wild, it's really raw. But it was a good experience. So I wanted to share that with you guys. All right. Let's move quickly to our next video that my sister sent me. I truly appreciate driving live. Yes, people say I shouldn't drive live, but I don't know. I was just trying different things. But you sent me this video, and I wanted to bring it up yesterday, but I can bring it up now.
Ouija board told them two white ladies to tell us, the people. I gotta be careful how I say this because I don't want this taken down. I was watching their Sophia video on YouTube. I'm sure they have some clips on TikTok as well.
So where did you first start hearing about Sophia Energy? I'm going to toot my own horn here. I got the download about it. I got the download because I was seeking higher consciousness. I was seeking Christ consciousness. If you understand what Christ consciousness is, people get they got caught up in Jesus. Jesus. There's something about the name, and they missed the message. They missed the plot. And the plot was Christ consciousness, moving yourself into a higher state of love and a higher state of oneness with all. And so I was seeking that Christ consciousness and trying to move into my higher state of being, and ran across Sophia consciousness, right? The doorway to higher Christ consciousness is through Sophia consciousness, right? Wisdom. Sophia represents wisdom, and that is held by the feminine energy. So as I got the download that the way I came is the way I have to go back, right? So you have to understand, right? We're born through women physically. All right. Our bodies are given to us physically, and we animate in this world physically, but we are not physical beings. We're energetic beings. All right. Held in a physical form. So Baba's not talking about climbing back through the womb as a man. All right. That's that. It doesn't work like that. Okay. You're given this body decays, but your energy still remains. But that energy, that consciousness has to go back through the womb from which it came to reach Sophia wisdom. So it metaphorically, it has to come back through the womb. Okay. So it doesn't, when it was held in this body, right? The body was created as out of material. The divine feminine gave it its consciousness, its energy to animate it. Because if it doesn't have that, it's what a comatose thing. It doesn't mean anything unless you give it the life, the energy to animate it. Okay. So this body's animated, but this body decays and it goes back into the material makeup of the universe. And so to go back to get to higher consciousness, I take this energy back through the feminine portal, right? To get to my higher state of consciousness from which I came. So we're talking about understanding the wisdom to bring us back into that. So we're not talking about physically getting back into that, okay? So that's the first thing you have to understand about it.
But essentially the context of the video is their whole self telling them that God is a woman, and that's
what I was trying to mention about Sophia energy and learning about Sophia energy and understanding that wisdom. Now ask yourself this, right? Let's look at the Christianity. We always talk about Christianity because that's what I'm most familiar with. I do know other religions, but I'm well familiar with Christianity and all the lies being told around that. So you have this being called Jesus, right? Jesus of Nazareth, right? And this being is supposed to be a divine entity. But yet and still, this divine entity came through a woman. I thought that was interesting because why didn't it just appear out the woods or out the desert or something? Why didn't it just come walking out if it was a divine energy. Nothing comes in through this reality. I don't care what you think it is. Nothing comes through this reality if it doesn't come through a woman. Nothing comes through our reality, this plane of existence, if it does not come through a woman. Which means any idea that you had, any thoughts that you had, originated from Sophia. Any concept, anything you thought of, originated from Sophia, which means wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? So even if you have this idea of higher consciousness and oneness and God and connection, it came from Sophia. This is Jesus coming into our world through a woman. That is lie. That was pushed out of the narrative to understand that, right? Sophia is the void from which all things come forth. So there's nothing that does not come into our reality if not by feminine energy. And that's proven by Christ actually being born into this reality. Now, let's address how Christ was miraculously created and born. They said he was not Joseph's son. He was God's son. Joseph never had a relationship with Mary when Christ was born. How is that possible? Well, we already know scientifically that women in the marrow of their bones can create men. That's already been proven. Women don't actually need a man to create a man. They can create a man all by themselves. I forgot what that term is called. There's a term for that. And some animals still do it where they don't have to be impregnated. I don't know what that is. I heard of this being done to famous black women by Arab widows. I think we moved beyond that conversation. But I don't forget what that term is called, where women can have, somebody look that up for me, what that term is called, where women can create life without man, right? And so once again, you have to understand the power of divine feminine energy in bringing forth life and divine beings and knowledge. But I'm going to say it again, no concept, no ideas, no inventions, nothing exists without divine wisdom. Don't worry about it. I'm glad you're here. Greetings. All right. I'm glad you are here. But you have to understand that all this comes from the divine feminine, right? And we need to recognize that if we're going to get back in order into our higher self.
Mother Earth is currently shifting the magnetic poles to release the suppressed feminine on this planet. And
so I had this discussion with someone yesterday about the Earth shifting its poles and how this is a natural occurrence of rotation, right? That the masculine energy was in leadership position, and as the Earth moves and the rotation, it's a natural cycle. The feminine energy comes back into dominance. So where we have a planet now ruled by masculine energies and presidents and senators and all of them that happen to be men, and even the women that are in leadership are disguised as men in leadership. They wear little pantsuits and they're just little men, right, with masculine energy. It's going to move to all feminine energy. Now, what that looks like, I have no idea, because women do not think like men. The true divine feminine does not think like a man. So how that looks, how that functions in our society is still unknown to me, because women do not operate with the same principles and understanding that men have. All right. So as they come into leadership and into rulership in our plane, because you got to understand, this was organized. This patriarchy, this masculine world that we live in was organized by men. So why would it be so strange that it would be organized by women in the future? It is only your ignorance and your denial of that happening is what's causing you to think it's impossible. Because we're ruled by men, how come that's possible? And then being ruled by women, how come that's not possible? How come laws and governance can't come from women just as they come from men? I think it does look like peace and happiness, but how that is instructive, how that comes about, how we get those rules, and how the reason I'm hopeful that I know it happens quickly, right? Because say we had an idea that our divine being creator was a woman. Say that that's just what people thought, right? They had no idea of a masculine creator. They only thought of a divine woman as being a creator, as the mother of all existence, right? Say we think like that. That would be natural to new children coming into being because they already see their mother as divine. They already see their mother as special. They already see that mother as connection. So they will easily associate, like we associate power with a masculine God. They will easily associate the love they receive from their mothers and the love they receive from their wives and their partners as actually being a mirror of divine feminine. So that part is really easy. That part is really easy. But getting rid of the old way of thinking is the tough part. Getting rid of the old way of thinking, that part probably has to be destroyed or die out. So that thought is no longer possible. And we only know the reality of divine feminine in leadership and also divine governance of our lives.
That the magnetic poles are actually the matrix. Y'all, that board, that spirit, their whole self, told them to tell us, the people, to quote,
unalive leadership,
end quote.
I don't know what the hell that was about. I've never seen this video, but that scared the hell out of me just now. All right. I'm going to show the whole probably tomorrow. I didn't want to show it today because I wanted to talk about the Dubai pooping situation, but I'm going to show that whole video tomorrow about Sophia energy coming back into prominence. I know this is the first time a lot of you guys are even hearing about Sophia. That's how deep the game is. That's how deep it was buried. All right. No one knew about this. No one knew about this, right? All right. But see, if that's what she said, that's masculine. If that's, see, you got to be careful, right? Feminine energy does not think like that, from what I understand. It's not about the violence, perpetrating the violence on things that oppose it. It's about encompassing the love. So anytime you're thinking about violence, you're operating in your lower energy of your chakras. So I don't know if feminine energy operates in that. And you have to be careful of the corruption that happens, right? Look at feminism. That was a corruption of it, right? Look at the word labor and how women were forced out into the workforce. That's a corruption of it. So you have to be very careful of the lies that are inserted in truths. We're trying to find the whole truth. And sometimes you get the system putting in lies, because I don't think that would make you no better than men. If women took on a personification of the idea of committing violence, how's that any better than men? Right? How does that work? She. How does that work? Right? So I said a lot of women don't even know yet, because you've been trapped into this matriarchy of the masculine energy, and so you are actually thinking like that, but that's not your correct framework. And so you have to reclaim that knowledge, that wisdom, so you have you can bring this new idea of how we change the world.
I will be playing a clip. And then when they ask for clarification, it's spelled out
MAN.
What she keep doing? What is that? I don't even know what she's saying. I know she had to do it for TikTok. Hey, TikTok throws you off. All right. I got thrown off TikTok. A lot of this information, a lot of these social media, I still don't know what she's talking about. Well, men are considered the aggressive part of women that will shed it off, right? I'm gonna put that up. Welcome. Said, well, men are considered the aggressive part of women that will shed off. I resonate with that. I resonate as you move more into your divine energy, you shed off that masculine energy. Right now, everyone's operating in masculine energy. We only know force, imprisonment, threat, right? Violence. That's the only energy we know right now. I think as women rediscover who they are and rediscover their connection, they bring in new wisdom. That's what Sophia means. They bring in new wisdom, new understanding, a new way of dealing with humanity and society. Right? They bring in more love, oneness, connection. Not everything is considered a threat. Not everything considered something you have to fight against. Love is the highest vibration, and love will conquer all things. So how that looks in the world is what we're still trying to come in understanding. But be careful that you just don't become little men. Don't be careful. You just don't become another version of a man, because that doesn't change the energy. If you're doing the same thing men would do, then why do we need women? Right? The leadership will still stay the same. Right? Love and letting go of the ego, right? Moving through the heart chakra, right? So we're trying to understand how that happens. And I don't think anyone exactly knows just yet. I think we see little peaks of it. I think we can see the feminine energy rising. I can see them getting their lick back, and I caution again getting your lick back, because you just become a man. If you're destroying the lie to reveal truth, I understand that. If you are burning away and destroying things to reveal the truth of things and getting rid of all the lies, I do understand that. But if you're doing it out of vengeance, out of ego, out of anger, that doesn't make you any better than a man. And we're tired of men. We're tired of men in that framework. We're tired of men in that framework. Okay, we're looking for something better, right? Something different, something that only existed 25 or 250,000 or 270,000 years ago.
There's a lot of women now coming out and starting to speak, be their authentic selves, allow themselves to be seen in the world as who they are without fear of being burned alive.
And this brings up another point I try to share with a lot of women, right? You can't defend yourself against masculine energy. It's not going to happen. You're not built for it. You created something for that actually turned on you, but you created men for that. So it's the awakened male, it's the healing male that's in defense of women, once again, against other men that are wounded and aggressive. Only a man can fight against a man. A woman coming into her true form of love and connection and oneness will be ran over again. She has to heal the male in defense of her as she stays in that higher realm of connection to oneness with the divine. The men in this realm have to defend that. You're not going to defend yourself against that because you don't have the capability. You're not even built for it. We built for it. You created us and we are built for that, right? Somewhere it got taken away, but you can bring it back in defense of yourself. So all this, well, we're going to decenter men. I'm going to do a video on that, how dumb that is, right? Because that just exposes you. And we had in recent history where women were vulnerable, they got tortured and they got burned at the stake. They got burned at the stake. All right. Their property got stolen and they got used and burned at the stake. So, and these were powerful women that knew herbs, they knew connection to nature, they knew cycles, they actually were responsible for childbirth. And all that got taken away because they failed to realize that they needed defense of that. They failed to realize they needed defense of that. They needed allies in that sense to protect them while they're not in the present physical form, but more in the spiritual realm.
Yeah, I mean, we would get roasted online, but it's a given. So it started, and when are we? Okay.
Hey, little side note, I thought it was crazy how they do words, right? Why is Ouija? Is it Ouija board? Why is it spelled with a O and an I? Does that make a Uji sound? They just tell us, they just give us a word and tell us what it says. It doesn't even follow their rules. I don't know if that even makes a Uji sound, but they said that's what it's called.
Kill leadership. Kill leadership.
See, this is masculine thinking here. How does that make you better than a man? How does it make you better than the abuse that men give women? Is that what it is? Is that what it is? I'm going to give up the position I'm in right now in service of women for them to do what I can already do now. All right? That's so why would I give up, and place myself in the servitude and honoring of women if they're going to just do what men do anyway? I can just stick with the men. They already winning. That doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean by kill leadership? Yeah. We do not endorse that. Is that what you meant? Kill leadership?
Y'all saw what I saw, right?
And I think it was misinterpreted. I think it meant kill ego. Kill the idea of leadership, which is what men perpetrate, that you need a leader, right? I think women think collectively. I really honestly believe they think collectively, and they mean kill that idea of one leadership, right? And so if we are looking at a man's framework through a man lens, we thinking, oh, we need to go march and do something. You're not going to do anything. Believe that, right? How can I say this without not being disparaging, right? Women aren't taught to be scared of things. They're naturally scared of things. It's in their nature. All right? I'm not saying all women, but like it's a bug or something in there, a spider, right? No one taught a woman to be afraid of it, right? To not like it. It's just naturally in their biology, right? All right, you have some men who are scared of stuff, right? But my point is that your biology is still going to be your biology. And so what are you going to do? You're going to do what? What are you going to do with your little muscles? What you going to do with your little neck? You know what I mean? You're not going to do anything, because men, it's like people trying to fight the United States. And I get it. You just don't like a big bully. You don't like the way the United States, but you can't win. The United States is masters of wars. They practice different ways of unaliving people. They develop new techniques. They love war. So you're not going to beat this country here in any kind of war. All right? Because that's what they practice. So when you're talking about reclaiming your feminine energy, and in the same breath talking about going against men, it's ridiculous. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Okay? You're not going to win that way. Again, what we was talking about money. Stop working in the framework of male energy and the matrix and the masculine lens. You can't work in that framework. You have to bring a new type of framework and lens to the situation. And you get that from going within yourself and discovering new things, right? New things to bring out, new ways of approaching things, not in that same framework. And that's not something you were taught. All right. Just like women don't like taking out garbage. It's not something you taught. It's just something you don't want to do. It's biology. It's just biology, And so you use that to your advantage. Just like you ask your husband to come get this. That's his job. That's what he's made for. He built for that, right? And it ain't because he was taught that. It's just something that we learned to override. All right, I done seen some ugly things, all right, but we learned to override them in defense of what? Usually of a woman, right? We do these things in defense of a woman, right? Everything we do is for women. Because that's the way we were created. That's what we were created for. You've been lied to. The narrative has been switched on you. You were created for the things that women do not want to deal with, do not have the capacity to deal with. So when you talk about, oh, let's kill our men, with what? With what? Right? Right? Kill them with compassion?
Now, they did go on to clarify. Because, it's kind of risky posting stuff like that, so I get it. But I ain't gonna lie. I think the spirit using the board to communicate was very, very clear. Very clear. Yes, it did turn around and kind of backtrack a little bit and explain that, it really meant like take down the patriarchy. I ain't gonna lie. I'm like, well, how do you take down the patriarchy?
You go within yourself, you heal your trauma, right? You alchemize that negative energy, bring it past the heart and bring it into love, and you get Sophia wisdom, and that conquers the patriarch. That's part of it, right? That is what actually brings us into a higher state of consciousness and higher state of being, not thinking like a man. And that's what women have to be careful of. Don't see it through the lens of a man, because that just makes you a man. Start to tap back into who you are, she, right? Find that feminine energy that you have put away because the world was hard and things were tough and things wasn't working out. And so you had to become that man going to work every day and doing everything. You got to reclaim that ability that you had when you created men, when you created this world. If all things come from you, you still have the answers to everything. I just proved to you everything comes through you, so the answer is still in you, and that needs to come forth. So that's my takeaway on that video. We're going to move on to the next video. I appreciate you guys being part of this conversation. I invited someone up yesterday, and I don't know what happened, but they were all in my chat with some other noise. But the thing is that sometimes I say things and people just don't gravitate towards them. Okay, I'm not mad at you, right? If it resonates with you, use it in your life. If it don't, leave it where it's at. I'm not trying to force anything down anybody's throat. I'm literally on here expressing my points of views and how I see things. And you're welcome to do that too. Sometimes I'll bring you up so I can hear what you got to say. It may be something that I need to hear or the collective needs to hear. I'm not mad at that. I do get discouraged when people keep trying to force religions on people, and anything that has a dogmatic stance or rules or ways that everyone's supposed to behave is a religion. And we're trying to escape from religion. Religions are man-made. That's made by a man. Women are spiritual, right? They're not made in religions. They're made in their spirit, right? That's how they operate. So we can't go back into those men frameworks again if we are going to get to our higher state of being, our higher state of consciousness. That's my whole objective, is to be the highest version of myself. And if I get stuck in being black or being a man or being whatever, it doesn't allow me to get to my highest version of myself. I thought about this before we move on to the next video, right? Say that you go to heaven. Say there's a heaven and you go to heaven. There's no heaven, but say there's a heaven, you go to heaven, right? You go there as energy, right? But say on earth, you were doing things with your physical body that they call are a sin, right? That you were, engaged in activities with your physical body that they call sin. But you don't have that body in heaven. So what difference does it make? You're energy in heaven and you were physical, but now you don't have that body. So who cares what you did with the body, right? People say, well, you shouldn't have tattoos because you're defacing the body. I'm not taking this nowhere with me. So why do I care? Right? So why are we so concerned with what people do as human beings when we actually believe that everyone is a spirit and moving on to whatever you think they're moving on to? I never understood why people are cursed by the body when you're not a body. A little side note, little side note. But let's look at this next video. And this talked about, if you haven't watched my videos, this actually talked about something I was discussing earlier about the womb being the actual sacred symbol that we should be acknowledging, and not the cross. At the very least, the Ankh represents the divine feminine of giver of life more than the cross. The cross was very weird to me because it represents death. I never understood why people have a symbol of a cross, because it represents death. They say it represents rebirth. That's like me having a noose around my as a symbol of a hangman's noose on my neck as a symbol, right? And I made up some story about, well, he got away from them. It doesn't make any sense. But we celebrate life here, so I'm gonna share this video with you guys.
Talk about honestly blew my mind when I was reading and learning about it. Before religion and before like the rise of the patriarchy, there was a single religion that all like tribes and communities celebrated and honored around the world. This was known as womb cosmology, and it was basically like just centered around the womb and not necessarily.
So I don't know if people are aware of this, and this is something I think she did a good job explaining, that we used to have an idea of womb cosmology, where everything in the beginning was symbol around the creation, the womb, symbol of the womb, the actual creation of life, and everything on the planet understood this, that being the symbol of life. We've actually been taught to be ashamed of it, to be embarrassed by it, because that knowledge is the only knowledge that brings you into full understanding of how things are supposed to be in order. So we have to make that something that's shameful. So, but this was actually the first idea of something higher than ourselves that brought us into this existence.
Just like women in their wombs, but also like the cosmic womb and the planetary womb. So like Earth has its own womb in a sense, energetically. This womb religion celebrated creation, and it was definitely revolved around like the feminine and women. It also was revolved around the lunar cycles and the seasons.
So they actually changed the calendar. We're supposed to be on the 13-month calendar, and that's why they have to tweak the times and change the time at the end, because it doesn't follow the 13 calendar. We follow the male's 12 calendar. But when we come back into the understanding of divine feminine energy, we'll have a 13-month calendar again. That calendar that you actually acknowledge was created too. It was created, so why we can't create the correct calendar or bring back the correct calendar? It's not like people like, oh, well, that's what it was. No, somebody made that up. Somebody made that. I don't know why we don't question what people make up. Why we assume because somebody made it up, it's the truth, right? Somebody made up the calendar, right? You can go back and research who started that. The calendar that we under, they had to take the power away from women, and they created this new calendar that we follow that's incorrect. We're supposed to be following a lunar calendar. So all of this is provable, right? But I want to ask you a really good question. Why do we honor God, or why do we honor our existence, right? Why is it important? And it's important because we acknowledge or respect our creation, who we are, right? We acknowledge, and we show respect to ourselves. And so in that sense, right, you have to ask yourself, how did you get here? How did I become? If you ask yourself, I am that I am, but why am I here? Or what makes me be here? You acknowledge that there was something greater than you that brought you here. And that's why it's important that we acknowledge the right energy and show gratitude and be thankful for that, because it's actually showing that our gratitude and thankful for being. That's what the whole creation cosmology is about, is recognizing how we got here.
On Earth, which also like correlate to the cycles that women go through. It basically like celebrated the life-giving and life-sustaining properties of menstrual blood rather than how it is essentially shamed in religions that we have seen since the rise of patriarchy.
And it's crazy that it's actually been twisted. Anyone that's been involved with Catholic religion and or Christianity religion, each year they drink blood. I mean, each month they drink blood. They told you that it is in remembrance of the blood that Jesus shed, but it's not actually that. It is in remembrance of Sophia energy, the blood from the feminine energy, and the bread representing the flesh of men. So that bread represents masculine energy, and the blood represents the feminine energy. So you're still doing the same ritual, except they're corrupting the ritual so they can be empowered by it. It's a very strong ritual of joining those two things together inside your body, right? But they have corrupted the same way they corrupted labor into a energy that works for them, as opposed to a natural energy that women have in creating life. So you got to understand that these rituals and these practices that they're continuing to do actually come from the ability of women being able to produce this in our reality. And that's a good point. That's a very good point. We acknowledge the sun, but not the moon, but they both are in the same sky. You have to ask yourself why. Why is that? Why have you been taught that? Why have they continued to do that?
So the Jesus fish, which I'll put a picture up, was actually symbolic of the yoni, which I don't.
And I've said this, and I've talked to you guys about that. They call this the Jesus fish, talking about Jesus said, be fishermen of men. It is not. It is an ancient symbol that represents the womb.
I don't know if I can put a picture of that up, but it started there and then turned into the Jesus fish with modern religion. And then Jesus was also referred to as the Alpha and Omega, and there's a similar like etching in the Temple of Isis from around 1,000 years before that said, I am all that is, was, or ever will be. So another thing that was kind of taken from the goddess and planted into modern religion that was brought on by the patriarchy. Essentially, this womb cosmology was like the honoring of, again, the womb and the goddess, and women were revered and they were respected and their wombs were highly respected during this time. And then, of course, with the rise of the patriarchy, this began to fall away and women began to be seen as inferior. I think.
So let's talk about the rise of different energies. All right. That is a cycle. Just as the sun rises, the moon rises, the planet revolve, the season, everything in the universe operates in cycles. Okay. So it is not something negative. It's just a natural cycle of things. So the masculine energy came into rulership, and now the feminine energy is coming back into rulership. So I don't know if there should be any anger about it or any. It's like getting mad at the sun rising, right? The sun's going to rise. It's like getting mad at the moon coming up. It's going to happen, right? You have forces that are working against it to keep this knowledge suppressed. Because anyone that has listened to me now, it has planted a seed in you that will grow, right? The seed has been planted, and that's all I do is plant the seed, and the seed grows in you. Now, whether you nourish that seed is up to you, but now that seed of your true nature is starting to grow. It's like almost being a slave and told you're free. You might not run off the plantation that day, but now you're letting that sink in. And it's starting to kind of motivate you to doing something. And that's the whole goal here, is just to plant a seed. And if you go and look it up yourself, or you start to behave differently, or you start to conduct yourself in different ways, right, it's because that seed is being nourished in you, right, to have understanding. And all this had to be buried and hidden away because this can be a very dangerous knowledge. It can be a very dangerous knowledge that's starting to rise again.
That this knowledge is so important because one, like, we're literally not taught this. Like, it just blew my mind learning about this and reading about it. And two, it's really empowering as a woman to know that, like, that is what was worshipped and, like, revered for a long time.
And that's the whole thing I want to talk about, is empowering. Now, you can go and believe the other narratives and not have a real understanding how that affects your life. How, what they told you is how you move, right? And when you're shown a figure of your divine being a Caucasian with this long blonde hair, right? It affects how you interact with people that look like that. Okay? And it affects how you behave and what you think about people that look like that. So the first thing you have to do is get that image out of your mind before you can step into your true self. So when you're told that you're inferior, when you're told that you're less than, right, it puts in your mind to operate that way. But if you're told the truth of who you truly are, right, that is how you operate in a different framework. So if you want to believe a narrative that doesn't support you, that doesn't lift you up and doesn't encourage you, I feel bad for you, because I would more believe a narrative, right, that actually empowered me, that strengthened me, and supported me. If I'm gonna believe anything, okay, I would rather believe that Black people have superpowers than to believe that we're dumb animals. So you decide what narrative you use to guide your life, what narrative you accept about yourself, and see how that works and how you move into this reality, how you conduct yourself, how you walk into a room, how you handle challenges in life. When you know what's within you is this undeniable wisdom, this undeniable strength, right? It shows up in how you move in the world.
Even like literally like 300,000 years ago, people were like celebrating this womb cosmology. So it's just wild that was like the norm, and that was like seen as something that was respected then. And then we had religion created that ended up being revolved around men.
I think she hit on a lot of good points. I hope it resonated with someone and helps them understand that they need to drop the old narrative. Every now and then somebody comes into my lives and start talking about, I give all thanks to the Father, which is insane to me. Okay, it's just that lie has been perpetrated, and people, they go with what they have heard. They go with what they been told. But I want to actually introduce a new narrative that's going to be more empowering. That's something you have to realize and stand 10 toes down on. All right. We can still say God, even though sometimes we say God is right. We can say God because God is non-neutral. First thing, accept that God is non-neutral, right? If you can get that understanding, then maybe you can move to the understanding of God is that God, if anything, had to be divine energy, feminine energy. All right. And so that truth, right, it can be a very dangerous thing. But you're going to start hearing more and more about this, like you just now started hearing about Sophia energy. And now people are starting to talk about this. This truth is it can't be hidden for long. So what do we have next, right? We went over a lot of things. Time really fly. We didn't have a chance to do a reading yesterday, but I want to do a reading today. I may stop doing the readings depending on what you guys want and how you want me to move. Every summer I cut off my sleeves to my shirts, and then I have to buy new shirts because I never think winter is coming again. But And I always cut off my sleeve. What you guys think of this shirt? I cut off my sleeve. I try not to cut off all of them, but sometimes I cut off the sleeves to my shirts. And then in wintertime, I don't have any sleeves on. All right. Then I'm looking really, really bad. So we're going to do a reading today. We went over a lot. We went from, you like the readings? Okay. So we're going to do the readings as much as we can to aid you, maybe talk to you, to encourage you in being the best version of yourself. This is nothing against men. This is not if like I have some real tricky topics I want to talk about. I think one of the topics I want to talk about, do women hate women? I wonder, do women hate women? Right? So you cut off your sleeves. So if you ever feel like I'm getting into the area of bashing or red pilling women, you know what red pills are, right? If you ever feel like I'm getting in, just call me on it. If you think I'm coming in too hot, because sometimes I don't know how to say things, and people always say, you could have said that better. So, if you ever think I'm coming in too hot, let me know. Oh, you like the reads? Everyone likes to read. Let me know if you think I'm coming in too hot on some subjects. I appreciate the comments. The comments were very supportive yesterday. I am grateful for that. But these are always hot topics to kind of challenge. But I think we need to discuss, people crapping on divine vessels. Women allowing that because they're trying to pursue a masculine framework of money and power. That's not in your framework. It's not in your, it's not what you do. It's not what you do. And then operating that energy doesn't make you any better than a man. So why would we want feminine energy when we can just keep men energy, right? We're looking for something better. And I'm challenging you to bring that out of you. Okay. So let's look at our first card. All right. Our first card is going to be Divine Masculine. All right. Let that be our foundation card of Divine Masculine. All right. A lot of us operate in that energy. Not only men, but a lot of women operate in that energy. And I know, well, Bob, I had to do this. I had to do that. I know you had to become a whole little man. You had to become a man because you had to do things. You had to take care of business. But now it's a challenge to you to become back into your feminine energy. So we're going to say we all operate here. We all started here as men. All right. Even men, even women, they all operate in that feminine with their little pantsuits on. You know how I feel about pantsuits. You got your whole pantsuits on, right? Because you feel vulnerable in dresses, which is crazy work. You feel vulnerable in dresses. You get unwanted attention in sundresses, but anything else, you're a little man walking around. Okay, you're a little man walking around. And I said yesterday, I don't understand it because men are very easily controlled. Men are very easily controlled. So I don't know where the narrative got twisted at. I cannot understand how the narrative got twisted. I know where it is. I know one thing is, right? I already bang it. I know what it is, right? Like when children or young people do something, right? We hold them up like they invented bread or something. Like they invented, the moon. We like, oh my God. And we assume just because they are innovative and think of new ideas that they know something. All right. They know something. A child can't tell me nothing. A child cannot tell me nothing. Okay. I give all honor to them in their work and all the things they little invented and they little apps and all that other stuff and how they make the world easier. But no, I have wisdom. I have years of wisdom and understanding that their mind cannot even comprehend at this point. But for some reason in society, we don't value the idea of knowing things as you grow older, right? And so I guess that's what happened when women were in power. They got overly impressed by men and let men guide and tell them what to do. And believe me, they should not be in that position. Look at the world. Look at our culture. Look at things and tell me if we're better off with men in leadership. So our next card that we're going to pull is the current energy that we're in is nature spirits, reconnecting to nature, which we know is feminine energy, reconnecting to nature. Maybe that's one way of bringing back Sophia wisdom into you, is going out to nature and listening to your inner self. Maybe going to sit and be still out in nature and reconnecting to Gaia is what brings you back into this feminine energy where you can take your rightful position. So let's let that be our current energy of reconnecting to our divine self. This is a woman, right? Natural spirits. Let that be our current energy. What does our future energy hold, universe? What is the future energy in this message? What is the future energy that the divine feminine and the divine masculine need to know? I want more men in here listening and taking this in. All right. It does not lessen you to understand the truth. I don't know how the truth makes you lesser, right? Your manhood shouldn't be as fragile to say that, oh, women are God and women came first, right? Why would that bother me? Okay, it just gives me the correct blueprint to follow. It doesn't change my energy, right? I told a friend yesterday that, because she was talking about women being love and forgiving and caring, and I said, well, you know, there are going to still be wounded men out there that are going to be attacking women, and women need men to defend them. And she's like, oh, I don't know, you know, that it's going to be love and all this and I said, you know, that's where that the feminine energy may be displeased by me, because I'm going to still be a man in defending that. Okay. So I'm going to still defend you in your softness. That still makes me a man, because I'm going to defend that. And so maybe a lot of women wouldn't accept that as they come into their their leadership roles, that some men still behave as men. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to be necessary for a while to still behave as a man in defending women. So knowing the truth about women does not make you a lesser man. Okay. What's our future energy? Water. Water, right? Water is fluent. Water takes on any container. It fills any container. Some beliefs say that if God was represented as a physical form, it would be water. It flows and it takes on any container. So what is our future energy on water? Why did water come up? So we can get out of that. 18. Ooh, my stomach growling. Did y'all hear that? Emotions. A connection of bodies water. Drawing this card is a symbol of connecting to your emotions regarding questions or situations. So we looked at connecting to nature and allowing your emotions to come out, right? To deny your emotion is to operate in masculine energy. To not cry and be strong, right, and hold them tears in is operating in masculine energy. You are supposed to be emotional, right? People say that women can't rule because they're too emotional. That's exactly what we need at this time. We need people who care, right? We live in a society that we don't know if people even care about each other, right? People are so, like yesterday I was at the park and it was a woman in a truck, and I was walking on the street because there was no sidewalk. And a lot of times in Georgia, there's no sidewalk. And she tried to run me down. She really tried to run me down, right? Because she didn't care. She didn't care. And so the thing is, we operate without our emotions make us uncaring. Okay. Oh, you heard my stomach growling? I'm sorry. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten yet. I'm extra hungry today. I apologize. I apologize. Right. So we're looking at the emotions that are need to come back into your being. Right. Don't let anyone tell you that there's something weak about being emotional. Okay. There's nothing weak about emotions. As a matter of fact, emotions make us care for each other. And we live in a society where people don't care for each other because they don't have any emotions. If anything you take away from this, understand that for you to become into your true power, you have to accept your framework of being feminine. And I don't mean just outwardly feminine, right? Because that's just appealing to the outward eyes. I'm talking about internally understanding what it is to be feminine energy. All right. So, what do we need to understand? Right? What will help us is knowledge. We talk about knowledge, or we call it gnosis. Gnosis is an inner knowledge. All right. Once again, it's been misinterpreted that for women to be intelligent, they have to go get degrees, they have to get debt, and they have to get all this paperwork when you were already wise. You were already had knowledge. So again, you've been lied to on that aspect. You had to go to school, you had to do this, you had to do that to be wise women, right? And I'll tell you the truth. And tell me if I'm lying. She, tell me if I'm lying, right? And I use my grandmother's example, and I know you have my dears, and I know some of you out there, right? Yeah, you don't need paperwork. You don't need some man to acknowledge that you have some type of education, right? You don't need no man to acknowledge that, right? My grandmother, the Madeers, the Bays, or whatever way you describe them, right, had more wisdom than any school could give you, right? These mothers that we shamed and we made fun of had more wisdom. You go there, I don't care what. See, when you have a life problem, right? You know, math and English and reading sometimes is not enough. When you have a life problem, an emotional problem, when you go to Mama them and Madeira and you talk to them and they sit there and listen, and then they tell you things, and you know that wisdom actually corrects the situation because now you know how to maneuver and you have to know how to move and you know how to do things now. You can't find that in a book. You can't find that, with a degree. And this is something that women naturally had. They naturally had that ability to give you insights and vision and how to move and how to handle situations. So we lost all that, and we lost our communities, and we lost our families, and we lost all of that. And what did we get in return? What did we get in return? We got rap songs with little brown holes. All right. Is that what we're talking about now? We're talking about little brown holes, or we talking about I want to be stretched out? Is that what we got in return? What did we gain for all that we gave up? What did we gain for all that we gave up? Our last card that we're going to pull is transmute, changing the energy. All right. What's going to help us do all this? What's going to help us out of our masculine energy, bring us back into our current energy of divine, recognizing divine spirit, right? Water, knowledge, right? Is taking the trauma, taking the pain, taking the hurt, transmuting it through the heart chakra, bringing it up, turning lead into gold, right? actually bringing it into a divine space of love. You're going to have to transmute that energy. That's what's going to help you through all of this. So I hope something said resonates with you. As you know, I'm very hungry today, so I'm going to go grab me something to eat before I go work out. I truly appreciate you guys allowing me to share my perspective and my thoughts. If it resonates with you, please use it in your own life and to aid you in your journey. If it did not resonate with you, tune in tomorrow. Maybe something I said will resonate with you. Okay. Once again, it's been a banger. I don't care what you say. If you missed it, I feel bad for you. You need to go back and look at the video. If you missed this, it's been a banger. We went over a lot of things. I know y'all think this is a whole variety show because we go over so many things, but thank you for being a part of that. I am truly honored. You saw Sophia wisdom in that reading. Sophia represents wisdom. That's what Sophia means. It's not a person, it's an energy. I am totally grateful for you. Love and gratitude. I love it when you guys connect and communicate with each other. If anyone ever wants to come up and share this platform, you are always welcome to share your perspective and your points of views. Love and gratitude. Thank you for being part of this conversation. Another banger. This has been a great conversation, and I truly appreciate you guys. This time goes by so really, really fast. All right. So in closing, I'll be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday, Tuesday. It's some day. It ain't the end of the week yet. So I will be back on tomorrow. We'll have other things that we'll talk about. So 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, set the notification, and please thumb up the video on the way out. All right. I want to wish everyone, all right, love, happiness, wealth, success. I want all you guys to have a great day. Love and light to everyone.